once a year we gather at City Walk and say, we're here, we're drawing attention to this. We want you to feel comfortable and okay and valued. It's as much for people in recovery as it is for their families. Have you heard the saying, the opposite of addiction is connection? We at the Addiction Prevention Coalition know that there's truth in that adage. And so we are fighting addiction face to face, conversation by conversation, creating connection. Here at The Shield, our new podcast, no topic is off limits because there are no limits when it comes to substance use disorder. Welcome to The Shield. With me today are two people who have been on the pod before when it was Recovery Cafe, but you're here to talk about something a little different because this is Walk edition of the podcast. So let's talk a little bit about the walk, but before we do that, I want to introduce you to. So with us is our this year's presenting sponsor, which is really amazing, ETA, and we have Tim Cross, who is managing partner. I asked him what that means, and he said he's the partner who's more vocal. And then we have Shane Herring. Shane is this year's champion for the cause, which basically means you get to have your face out and do the things and do the media with me. Lucky you.
Lucky me.
Right.
I have my family's face out more than my own.
That's true.
It looks better.
It's true. Yeah, your wife is definitely the better half.
Absolutely.
So we were talking ahead of time, and basically we finally just had to press play because I feel like we could have talked for a very long time about y'all's connection to APC and why you give a damn about this work. So let's dive into that a little bit because, again, we want to get to the walk and what people can expect. This will actually be my first walk, so I'm very excited because I've heard a lot about it. Obviously, we at APC, we've been planning, so I'm excited to see it come to fruition. Yeah. But first, why did you, Shane, agree to be the champion when I called you and said, hey, I don't even really know what this means, but I'm supposed to get a champion, and I think it should be you? Why did you agree?
I was forced. No.
You were voluntold.
No, so, aside from my own recovery, my sister is my why. My sister passed away in 2009 of an overdose, right when the wave of heroin overdoses, I feel like she was on the precipice of a larger, the increase that we've seen.
That was really when it had moved from prescription opioids to heroin before it went to the synthetics, right?
Yeah, before it's synthetic. And so it was it rocked our community because there was a couple others around the same time. And then, subsequently my own battles with addiction and then, recovery by the grace of God. Given the opportunity, having her story told, having the story of, from the family aspect to my own side, whatever I can do to help, spread awareness or, just put my name out there if anyone needs help. Cancel what I just said because that sounds stupid.
It doesn't sound stupid. It doesn't sound stupid.
No, but
and you're a dad, so
yeah.
now you even have now you're really into the prevention piece.
Absolutely,
right? Because you have conversations, age-appropriate conversations. I'm assuming with your kiddos, you and your wife communicate all the time, and it's really how is it a family disease? But then how can we get ahead of it and kind of break the cycle?
Absolutely. And then the community, with knowing Tim and being around Tim for, a lot of years, the community aspect of, recovery and addiction is, the self-work is the most important. But besides that, the community piece. And I think that's what APC, I think that's what recovery is the opposite of addiction is connection.
That's
And without the friendships that I've built and the relationships that have been developed, there's no reason to want to stay sober or wanted to do this kind of work. So I'm a relationship person, and without relationships, I don't know what I would be. So I'm excited to be a part of the walk in this capacity this year.
Awesome. And you're vice president of our board. I should probably mention that. Yes.
Thank you for
one of your many titles.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
And
I'm learning as I go.
I know your eyes were crossing in the finance committee meeting the other day.
Steve Walker is an incredible man.
Tim, we were going over audited financials, and Shane's face, I was looking at it on the Zoom screen, and he was like, whoa. But Steve Walker, our treasurer, is just incredible. So
Who was a former CFO, chief accounting officer, protective, talking about how many
Bean counter.
billions.
how many billions of dollars he has been in charge of. And it's like, man, I need to learn all I can from you, dude.
Yeah, we're really grateful to have him. And Tim, you were on our board for several years, and technically you're not on our board anymore because your kind of business is exploding and you've got all kinds of things going on. But you said, even though I'm not going to officially be on the board, we want to be the presenting sponsor. So talk a little bit about ETA, and if you're not going to brag about your recovery-friendly workplace vibe, I will. But talk a little bit about ETA and why you all felt it was important to be the presenting sponsor.
Yeah. Well, let's see. How did that happen? Well, I just asked management, what do you all want to do? And they said yes. So
Yeah.
if you tie that back to what the co-founders of the company originally, what we wanted to do was have the organization be helpful to people. That was more about the employees than it was the owners. Then I can see why management team said yes to this whole thing to begin with, because it's probably what Jim and I would do. So I guess that's kind of the alignment with that for me as to how that would happen. And plus, just like Shane said, the family history of addiction that I have in my past, my own personal struggles with addiction, it's personal to me on a visceral level that there's nothing really more to say about it than that,
Yeah.
It's a worthy cause to get involved with, and that's a piece of our community that needs help. So,
And ETA has really been a leader. It's a logistics company, right? Or
Correct.
trucking, or
Yep.
is that the right? Okay.
trucking, logistics, yeah.
Okay. And you all have really been a leader, not just in Central Alabama, but really in your whole field around this idea of recovery friendly or recovery ready, right? Like, in other words, you don't have an official designation. Alabama's not there yet, but you do a lot of things to really put the employee first and make sure that the employee is supported and has what they need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to treat, these employees any different than we would any other employee. I guess it's more along the lines that if there's an opportunity because of our own personal experience, ownership, and management with addiction, that we have a unique perspective from the sense that we understand as maybe no other employer really truly can, with that related connection. And so therefore, listen, if someone's wants to be helped, listen, we want to help. And if we can support that and salvage an employee and, see this person get to accomplish the things that most addicts really want to accomplish in life, then why not? Why would we not do that? So, yeah.
And you all were some of the early adopters for the one boxes,
Yeah.
which was really great. You're very present at a lot of events. Specifically, I'm thinking about the drug court graduation where you had a table and, I think you're interested in thinking about some non-traditional employees, giving folks, a quote unquote second chance, and really allowing them space to take care of themselves, whether that is attending a meeting or things like that. I mean, and you're shaking your head like, yeah, that's what we do. That is really innovative and rare. So I just want to take a minute to like honor your company for doing those things
Thanks.
because it's special and we want more of that. And so you all are pioneers in that. And I know you're saying it's just kind of the right thing to do, but it's very unique.
Yeah, we've had business consultants, and there's a HR podcast that picked up a story from AL.com about ETA, and so yeah, it's from the outside looking in, I get how people view that and us as an organization, and yeah, it just kind of that's just what we do, and we don't necessarily we get the impact from what we're doing, but we're not looking at it from the same perspective everybody else does. It's just
Yeah, you're not doing it from an ROI perspective.
this is just what we're doing,
Yeah.
and that's all there is to it. And so it is. We've been told it's unique, and so it's great to be acknowledged for that and stop for a second and see it the way that others do. So yeah, thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
One of the things too, which is incredibly genius, is the fact that a lot of people who suffer from substance use are like some of the most incredible and smart people you would ever imagine. And like I think there's a lot of studies that have
You're
been
in trouble. Did your phone just ring, Shane?
dinged.
It just dinged.
I went to silent, and I'm
Sorry.
And we're
I'm
gonna
having
we're gonna
difficulty
keep
being
rolling.
separated.
We're rolling.
I'm gonna roll with it, but
Yes, you are.
so like the incredible thing that he's tapping into is, and is often overlooked, is how kind of off the record not off the record, but off the charts individuals who suffer from substance use disorder are, with either their innovativeness, their entrepreneurial spirit, like all these things that kind of bore them in normal, monotonous life, which could kind of lead into, more exciting things that aren't legal, to kind of fulfill that need or that drive. He's tapping into from a business perspective, which is, when you look at it, it is completely genius, because you always look like if I hustled as hard in everyday life as I did in active addiction, like the sky's the limit with what you can achieve. And so like what he's doing is flipping that and getting them into a productive member of society, using that hustle and doing incredible things.
I also feel, I think you're right, and you could probably speak to this too, but I feel like the folks who I've hired in the past who don't have like clean records and who maybe they've got some gaps on their resume because they've had stuff going on, whether that's substance use disorder or other mental health challenges, when they are hired because they are very smart, they become some of the most loyal employees because you gave them a chance when other people did not.
Yep.
And I know that, it can kind of sound weird talking about loyalty as something that really makes a company tick, right? Because that sounds a little manipulative, but you want not just alignment, but you also do want loyalty. And so I have had tremendous success in kind of sticking my neck out for folks because they then come and stay and keep showing up and keep doing the work as long as we treat them fairly, which we do. The loyalty is tremendous. I would assume you see that too.
I think the last percentage was 62% of our staff are in recovery,
That is incredible, Tim.
which is
That is like you just broke my
I'm
brain.
sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking it hadn't been all a walk of roses.
Oh, of course not.
It has been problematic, scary, tragic. There's a lot of it there's some of it that has not worked out.
Yeah, of course.
But then you get the one who was homeless 5 years ago, who's bought a car, bought their first home, those sorts of things. People have gotten married, had kids, done some of these things that have been things they've wanted to do their whole life. So those exceptions or the ones that have accomplished that's been worth everything else that
Well, and let's
we've
be
gone through.
real. I mean, you can have somebody with a bright and shiny resume who went to a 4-year college
Sure.
and has some grad school and
Yeah.
looks like sunshines and rainbows, and they show up and you're like, what did I just get? And
Yeah.
so even those folks who maybe are not in recovery and went to a whatever institution, I mean, those don't work out all the time either. I mean, hiring is
Yeah.
the hardest thing and the most important piece of running a business.
And we've got normal people that work
Yeah.
for us, and so we've been.
You're
So,
using quotes in
yeah,
case people
yeah.
are just
The
listening.
normal people work for us. We're a great resource
Yeah.
for them in the sense that, find somebody that hasn't been impacted by addiction.
Exactly.
And these people have similar issues with their family or know somebody, and so it's like, hey, what do I do?
Right.
What should I do? Can you tell me what I should do? So it's been great to see the whole dynamic and how that's all unfolded, and what it's turned into today is been pretty unbelievable.
And what I hear just from listening to you and watching you, and obviously seeing how much you pour into the company, not just with your expertise, but with your emotions. What I see is that the success of your company is built on the employee and having them understand their own value, and seeing that, you might have had this happen, but I believe in you, and then that subsequently helps them believe in themselves and grow and achieve these things that maybe they thought were impossible. And I think that's where the emotion comes up, because you don't set out to do that, but the culture that you've developed there and everybody that you've built, that's one of the things that, that's what it's all about. I mean, a byproduct is a good business, but at the end of the day, like, you can rest your head on, like, this is what you're meant to do, and you're meant to lead these people to be the best versions of themselves, and through that you have a successful business. But
Well, it's Nicole's first question is to you was why, and so that is one of the things that we ask people. It's not just their performance and how to achieve financial freedom. That is a part of it. And yes, we invest in the employee, and the company expects something in return, which is performance, right? But then you have these one-on-one conversations between managers and employees on a regular basis, and you ask an employee why. You could go work at any logistics company, so why come work here?
Yeah.
So to tap into, well, what is it personally that you want to accomplish? So we got the work piece, So we get to the human piece, and so what is it? Do you? Oh gosh, this may be a wild example, but it's like, so I wanna buy my first home. I wanna buy a piece of property and plant a bunch of sunflowers, and then I want to take a picture of my daughter in the sunflower field and hang it in the living room of my first home. Okay, great. So how do we get there? And so we ask people, what is it that you want to do? What do you want for you and yourself? And if that's what you say you want, then what can we do as a company to support that getting fulfilled on? And so that's the other piece of it. So it's not just a company and
That's right.
all that. It's that human side too. So yeah.
Well, so speaking of the human side, so I'm going to share an anecdote about you, and I'm going to try to withhold information because I obviously don't want to say anything I shouldn't say. But so a couple weeks ago, you and I were riding in a car down to Montgomery as part of our community advisory board. We were taking a little field trip, and you were sharing a story about a gentleman that you and Danny Sims from Recovery Resource Center had gone and checked on, and he was an unhoused person. And I'm filling in some blanks here, or help me fill in the blanks, but he hadn't been out of his tent for quite a while. And you all went to check on him, and you saw him in a complete and utter state of disarray. You know, used the restroom on himself, had some open wounds, probably septic, et cetera, et cetera. And you were talking about him from a place of empathy, saying, you know, you were really trying to help him. And then later on in the day, we find out in real time that he had agreed to go to the hospital because he had a fever. And you and Danny were not super comfortable with how, I'm not saying he was being treated poorly, but you were not super comfortable with how he was being treated at the emergency room. And you felt like he wasn't being treated like a human. And so you got on the phone and you called somebody and you gave him some backstory and you said, I need you to take care of this one.
Yeah, and
That's I mean, you've been like, you know, telling Tim how incredible he is. That's a pretty big deal, Shane.
I mean, it's easy to in healthcare to get focused on the goal of get a patient stabilized, get him out the door. We need this bed open, you know, and that's unfortunately, you know, that doesn't leave a lot of room for personalization. This individual needed some TLC, for lack of a better word. I mean, so, you know, he had been in this state for such a long time. I'm sure he did not smell the greatest. He might not have been the nicest to deal with. But I reached out to my buddy who runs the ER, and I just said, you know, please, we've been trying to get him in the hospital. He ends up leaving because, you know, withdrawals are real, and sometimes medicine can't control that. But I said, if please, whatever you do, I know y'all are great down there. Just tell your staff we really need him to stay. I mean, at this point, it's life or death with him in the different kind of comorbid conditions he has and the different in the wounds that he has developed from using substances. So I think I just did what was right.
Do we have any sort of update on him?
He's still in the hospital, so
Well, okay.
that's longer.
That's
than,
good.
You know.
That's good.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm hearing secondhand information about how he's doing. And I think Danny said she and her partner went up the other day and maybe I think gave him a haircut. So you know what it all boils down to is, you know, I think as healthcare providers, we always want to like protect ourselves because of we all fear of getting hurt. And I think the easiest and unfortunate way that a lot of healthcare providers do that is by kind of making somebody else seem different from themselves. And if you're different, I can be okay with the way you are.
And it's like it's compartmentalizing a little bit because
Yeah.
healthcare professionals, just like law enforcement, they see a lot. And sometimes they have to sort of disassociate almost to keep themselves
Yeah.
mentally and emotionally safe.
And to do your job and
Yeah.
go on from the next. But at that same time, I think what as healthcare professionals you have to realize is those times when you have to take that down. And when more
Yeah.
like physical and caring for their physical and physiological needs is good, but also differentiate when you need to hit that emotional, spiritual, or mental, you know, aspect of their care that a lot of times doesn't get addressed because that veil is up and
Right.
we have to move on to the next really fast. So
Well, it's pretty neat that he gets to be a voice for, you know, my own personal experience. A stigma may be around addiction that this is a moral issue and how other people may view addiction. And he's getting to be a voice for that. So that's the great thing. That's the thing he's not saying
That's
in
right.
this whole conversation, that he's getting to be that for recovery and for people in recovery and who want recovery and are seeking it. Yeah, he gets to break that cycle of stigma or whatever other word you want to use around that. Does that
yeah,
communicates?
that's yeah. And I feel like I'm like my role as a facilitator because being in healthcare and then have been in, you know, the throes of addiction, I'm able to be that vessel that translates what somebody who is going through this is feeling to somebody who actually will listen, like a healthcare provider. The fact that I'm in, you know, a nurse by trade, I can then formulate to them how to best, or kind of just, like I'm an interpreter. I mean, it sounds silly.
It doesn't. And you, I mean, sorry if I'm speaking out of turn here, but you entered this profession because you had a healthcare professional when you were in the hospital almost dying that saw you for you and helped you kind of keep the faith and keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah,
Is that
and
fair to say?
absolutely. And you know, when I went into the hospital, I didn't have anything to do with healthcare at the time. I had to graduate the degree in finance, and
Okay, then you really should have been able to read those P&Ls.
yeah, I know. I had used it a long time, and to be transparent, I was at the gym, sitting on a machine,
So that, yeah,
looking on my phone,
that's
being involved.
good job, Vice President.
Multitasking. But no, I had you know, an addiction related illness that put me in the hospital, and so going in there was stigma associated with just me being there for that reason, and I felt that by a lot of the care providers, except one nurse in specifically. There was multiple nurses that treated me as a human being, but one in particular that, you know, talked to me like I'm a human being and said, you know, hey, you're going to come out of surgery. It's going to be scary, but I'm going to be here to hold your hand. And, you know, what I remember, she was on the left side of the bed holding my hand.
Oh, my God.
And so And I remember the room I'm in to this day, and her name is Anna Wheat, and she's still, a good friend of mine to this day. And, I believe she's the reason that small act of kindness that she gave me, I think allowed me to love myself enough to then not only forgive myself for everything, she allowed me to go on this road, this journey of, forgiveness of self and recovery. But then, that's the reason why I became a nurse. So,
It's a ripple effect.
yeah.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah, you never know what one act is going to yield, and that impacted you. And we think about how many people you've impacted, and the gentleman y'all were just talking about a moment ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess the charge for everyone would be, you're making a difference whether you know it or not.
That's right.
And to don't bypass that small act of kindness because you literally have no idea what the yield will be. I didn't, I'm sure Anna didn't think that, either I would have survived or gotten sober, but it didn't matter. What mattered was right now, and how, come to find out, my journey through addiction helped her deal with her brother's, journey through addiction. And I didn't know that. But, and I didn't know why she treated me any different, or she treated me like she did.
What you're describing is exactly why APC exists. It's why, we have invited you to be the champion and to share a little bit of your why at the walk. It's why once a year we gather at City Walk and say, we're here, we're drawing attention to this. We want you to feel comfortable and okay and valued, whether you're the person, struggling or in recovery, or whether you have family members, in talking to last year's champion, Taylin McCarver, she was saying that one thing that she really wants to get the word out is that it's as much for people in recovery as it is for their families. And that's why you see all ages and stages at the walk. So I've heard, right? I'm sure you're going to be bringing your kids. It's a really, as weird as it sounds, it's a family-friendly event because it's for everybody. It's for everybody. Tim, what's your favorite part of the walk? What should I really be looking forward to?
I guess my favorite part is the observing of people connecting. It's just simply that, the connection piece of it for me.
Yeah.
And seeing people hug and run over, and families talking and getting to be with each other and support each other. That's probably the most important thing, I think, for me.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think for me, it's the recovery countdown.
Oh yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Yes,
because I had never seen that before until I went to Huntsville's walk, which they, have modeled off of our walk, and there was not a dry eye in that entire park. So talk a little bit about the recovery countdown.
Yeah, so you'll start from, the highest number and go down to the lowest.
30 years,
or
something like that.
Or even more.
Okay.
So, and then they'll step it down, and, to see...
an hour.
To see the people who are, a day, hour, maybe not even, or that's where you'll hear the loudest cheers, because we know the hardest part is the first, the hardest part is walking in the room. The The hardest part is that hour, that day, and seeing the community behind them. I mean, there's no dry eyes, but like it is so powerful. It gets louder and louder with the amount of time that, like, the lower amount of time that people have, and just what it takes to go up there with little time. That's tough, but what it shows you is that resilience, that that community that we were talking about is the most incredible aspect of it. I hope everyone gets to experience it because it's moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm excited to see it here in Birmingham, having relocated here and made community here. I'm excited to see it in my backyard. Of course, we have food trucks and DJ, and we have our youth advisory council members helping and lead the walk, and we're having Happy Rocks. I don't even know what Happy Rocks are, but my team really loves the Happy Rocks. So if that's something you're into, you could bring your dog, but it's got to be on a leash. And
I heard that there was going to be this.
Don't put me out on Front Street. What are you going to say?
This MC this year.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be emceeing. Well, we thought it would be, in the past we've had like somebody a little more higher profile, but we thought it would be a good idea since a lot of people, I'm new really to APC, and a lot of people know Carrie as the leader of APC, and Carrie will be there. She's helping us plan this year's walk. We actually have a meeting later on today, as a matter of fact, so she's very integral. But we also felt like it would be a good idea for me to be the MC so that people could kind of get used to me and could see me and could recognize that, that not only that I'm the face of APC, but that like who I am, So this year I will be the MC. Next year we'll get somebody better and cooler. But
I think that's great.
Our T-shirts this year are tie-dye, which people are really stoked about. They're very cool. And registration is up and going right now. We'll link to the website in the description, and you can register as an individual, or a lot of people do teams, which is really cool. So the teams are already starting to fundraise, and that's really exciting. We're giving awards this year like we always do. I can't announce those yet, but I think you all know some of the people, which is really exciting. And then we also, this year I was going to say we have a special kind of award or shout out for the most active person on social, like the person who's sharing it the most and, reposting and all of those things, because that's how, in 2025, that's how a lot of people connect, right, is social. And we're going to be doing some advertisements for it on BHAM Now and Birmingham Mountain Radio, which I'm super excited about. But social media still is like the number one way to connect. So we'll be giving a shout out to the people who are most social. The other thing that I'm really excited about, this is new this year. So any team that raises $250 or more will have their team name or the person they're walking in honor of, or whatever, will be on a banner.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have that banner basically displayed in a high-profile place in Birmingham. So I know, let's say if you're walking in honor of your sister and you put a team together, your sister's name could be on that banner. We're really excited about that. We know that that's, no incentive is going to really get people to register and walk. It's really the why. It's exactly what we've been talking about. It's the why. Why are they walking? Why are they showing up? Why are they participating? Is it to celebrate themselves and their journey? Is it to honor a loved one that's passed? Is it to expose their kids to what this is, to prevent things from happening in the future? What's the why? And so we also Ronnie, I'm breaking the fourth wall here. Ronnie, our illustrious producer of this podcast, is going to be on hand, and he's going to be pulling people aside and doing a little bit of storytelling.
Oh, wonderful.
Really kind of interviewing people in kind of a real sort of guerrilla, organic way, figuring out, why are they here? What's their why? And then also, like, what's their link to prevention? Yeah. Because we are the Addiction Prevention Coalition. And of course, we work with people in recovery, but also, like, we want to try to get upstream. So we're really excited about having Ronnie on the street with his mic and his quiet area, which I know is going to be hard because we have a DJ, Black Tie Entertainment, I think, again this year.
So he's going to have to come behind the camera.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to find a quiet place. Yeah. Yeah.
Just wait till you see his smile.
Okay.
It's everything, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, it is.
No,
dude.
Ronnie's the best.
It's really,
I mean, you walk into his room and you can't help but smile.
I know.
'cause he's
I'm still
smiling.
trying to get him to come on this side to talk about all of the amazing things
Please.
he's doing.
Dude,
So-
he is the epitome of a hype man. Like, no kidding. Like, last time I saw him at Carrie's, I mean, he came up to me and was like, "You're a legend," like he said to us
I know.
today.
I
And
know.
I'm like, dude, can I have you
Like
every
in my
time I wake
pocket.
up
Right. Yep.
to, like, make me have a good day, dude? You can't have a bad day when you come in here and
he can
look
be your
at me.
David Goggins.
Yeah. Run that extra mile. Yes. No, I mean, you need to come from behind the camera, man.
Yeah.
I'll do it for y'all.
You're amazing.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Love it. Love it.
I just need to be here for it.
Okay. Okay. No problem. You can be on that side, and you can
I
be
don't know I
working
can-
the
I don't know I can
controls,
do that,
pretending
but-
to be a
Oh,
DJ.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So
If you can fake your way through a finance meeting, you can do that.
make it till you make it. So how is the best way to, like, register or sign up for it?
Oh, that's a very good question. So we have a Swell site. That's the name of the website, which sounds, I don't know. Swell, right?
Sounds
Exactly. So we will go ahead and put that in the podcast description. But people can always go to our website or any of our social media, and it's kind of peppered there. And then, if they follow our social medias, they're gonna just be seeing a lot about the walk in the next month, because we're basically like a month and a half from prime time. So
Are you really doing a TikTok dance to promote this?
okay, if you liked what y'all heard, and I know you did,
Get your phone out.
please consider rating, reviewing, and subscribing to The Shield. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Shane, kind of. I appreciate y'all, and really thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, please comment that you want to see her dance.
Goodbye. Goodbye from The Shield. Thank you.